With head coach Mike Zimmer. Coach, your team dug a hole early on, but there were some good things that you saw at the end of the half. What did you tell your guys?
I told them it was a very poor performance. We're going to scrimmage next week with this same bunch because we didn't tackle well, that we made the wrong checks on defense with the safeties. We throw an interception for a touchdown. We go 3 and out the first 2 series. Terrible punts. So other than that, it's been great.
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome in. The opening clip that you just saw there was head coach Mike Zimmer addressing the media regarding his team's first half performance against the Denver Broncos in this afternoon's preseason game, the first of its kind, in which the Vikings lost by the final of 33-6. Can we get coach some sunscreen, by the way? What's up with that? Everything he had to say in that response was true. It's weird how hung up he was about the punting today, but we'll get into that. And then nothing in the second half really got any better. So it's easy to overreact to today. It doesn't mean anything. It's a game that doesn't count. It's just a dress rehearsal. But there's some harsh criticism that needs to be dealt out to the backups for the Minnesota Vikings because, that is who primarily played today was the backups and the third string. So there's this weird disconnect about what this game really means. So we're going to try to break that down here today. Before we begin, I do want the audience, you the viewer, to participate in this. So we're going to do a dress rehearsal of our own. We are going to take comments today. So make sure you leave a comment on this video so that we can feature you in the video that I will put out tomorrow, which is called The Day After. If you've been around the channel long enough, you will remember from last year, about halfway through the season, I got the idea to include viewer comments in the day after a game so that we could, sort of reflect collectively. So it's your comments, my reaction, our video. That will be what comes out tomorrow. So leave a comment. It can be about anything. How do you feel about today's preseason game? Any players stand out to you? Were there any performances that you feel like won their job, lost their job? Maybe they're now in the bubble. Remember, cuts are right around the corner. This team will have to trim the roster down a bit. So let me know any thoughts that you have. I'll try to fit everybody that I can in the video. I don't want to make it too long, but that's kind of the idea. You can go to the Minnesota Vikings regular season playlist from last year, the 2020 playlist. There's a couple videos of what we're going to do in there, so you can kind of have an idea of what to expect. So with all of that out of the way, let's react to today's preseason game where the Minnesota Vikings lost 33-6. The offense looked rather anemic. The defense didn't really do itself any favors. Go Greg Joseph, I guess. He's the star of the show. He made both of his kicks. I don't know. So before we begin, let's reset with the context, right? Okay. So number one, it's just a preseason game. Don't get all riled up about what any of this means other than that the backups and the third stringers are backups and third stringers for a reason. Number two, none of the starters played. About 30 players didn't suit up. So realistically, we didn't get to see the true identity of the Minnesota Vikings today. And number three, as we have said before, strictly the backups and the third stringers were out there. I think the only 2 players that could really be considered possible starters that played today were DJ Wanham and Stephen Weatherly. One of those 2 will win the defensive end job opposite of Danielle Hunter. We just don't know who it is yet. And I don't really think they did anything to really, gain any kind of a lead. So that is what we need to keep in mind as we talk about this. Having said all of that, woof. That was tough to watch. That was a struggle bus just about every facet of the game. I wasn't really paying too much attention to the punting by Britton Colquitt. I kind of was like looking at my phone and writing notes as I was doing this. By the way, follow me on Twitter at Skolhio. You can see all the notes that I posted from today's game that I took in real time. But Mike Zimmer was really hung up about the punting, both during that halftime media availability that we watched at the beginning of this video and the post game. He called the punting situation very concerning. So Britton Colquitt appears to be in the doghouse early on. Just to give you sort of a abridged version of my notes, let's go over the highlights from the game in the first, second, and third quarter. Nothing really of significance happened in the fourth, and by then I wasn't really paying all that much attention. How many A.J. Rose handoffs do you really need to see? In the first quarter, we had the Dakota Dozier holding penalty in the end zone that resulted in a safety for the Denver Broncos. So the first points of the regular season go to Dakota Dozier, but unfortunately they go to the other team, which is just ridiculous. He's supposed to be a veteran. He should know not to do that. It's super annoying that it's him causing problems already. Cam Dantzler gets burned for an 80-yard touchdown pass to KJ Hamler. You could probably give some of the blame to Cameron Bynum. I think he was out of position. Dakota Dozier is credited for a false start in this quarter. Yikes. But it does end on a good note, and that is a Greg Joseph field goal. So thumbs up for Greg Joseph. In the second quarter, the pass rush just did not look good. They were not shedding blocks. They were pushing their guys around, but they couldn't get off their blocks and attack the quarterback. Drew Lock, Teddy Bridgewater really all day sort of felt like they had an opportunity to carve up this pass defense, and they did so because I was worried about the depth in the secondary going into this game. Those worries have been confirmed. The backup safeties look absolutely lost. If Xavier Woods and Harrison Smith miss any games this year, I think we're screwed. Jake Browning throws a pick six to Patrick Surtain. I don't know if Amir Smith-Marset missed something on that play or if he ran the wrong route or whatnot, but it was a pretty good play by Patrick Surtain. After that, Jake Browning got pulled in favor of Kellen Mond, so his day was done. We had a 2nd and 20 situation where we saw the old Kubiak playbook come into play, where it was a handoff on 2nd and 20 for a loss of 3 yards, and then it ended up being 4th and 23, and Kellen Mond had to throw the ball at a checkdown's feet just to avoid a sack. So Vikings offense is in midseason form. Teddy B was carving up our secondary pretty nicely, and then the first half, end of the second quarter, ends on a Greg Joseph field goal. That's really the best that we got. Third quarter, Patrick Jones, the rookie, had a nice tackle for loss in the backfield. I give him credit for that. Janarius Robinson even had a nice batted down pass play. His height and length was on full display on that one. Amir Smith-Marset has a nice kick return, made some people miss. Whop Philyor in the end zone on a 4th down pass from Kellen Mond catches a touchdown, but it gets knocked away even though he comes down with it. So referees rule it an incomplete. That's just a tough break. Dylan Mabin was getting beat left and right in this quarter. That's what I wrote down. So tough day for him. Really tough day for everyone. And as I said, I didn't really take any fourth quarter notes because not much really to learn by the time that the fourth quarter rolled around. If you want to see the unabridged notes, once again, follow me at Skullhio on Twitter. It's the same way it's spelled here. So takeaways, what did we learn from today? Honestly, not much other than this team's depth is a problem. In training camp, I felt pretty good about just about every positional group in the depth after the starters. I was feeling good about the wide receivers. They didn't really do much today. I think KJ Osborne had 2 receptions for 15 yards. Amir Smith-Marset, not a good day for him. Really just didn't get to see much of anything in the passing game, I thought. I think the tight ends were pretty absent as far as the game plan goes. It was a lot of plays to the running backs. Amir Abdullah and A.J. Rose had standout days. I think Amir Abdullah, A.J. Rose, Greg Joseph are probably your players of the game, which, yikes. A.J. Rose, I believe, eclipsed the 100-yard mark. I think he had 25 carries for 100 yards, so good for him. It's nice to see that. Kene Nwangu actually injured his knee on the initial kick return that he was in, and we didn't see him again after that. Cameron Smith had a concussion. He left the game after that. Tough break for him. Great story surrounding Cam Smith coming back from open heart surgery last year. Other than the defensive line and the running back group, don't feel confident about the depth at any position going forward. Hopefully they can turn this around. The Jake Browning hype train has derailed. He was pretty upset with himself after the post-game press conference, so hopefully this will motivate him in scrimmages next week. Kellen Mond played a little bit better, still wasn't that good, and that's more so because he has missed 10 days of practice. Not much they could do, I think, offensively in terms of creativity for him when he was in there. So, his skill set was still shown off, I think, a little bit with the pocket awareness, the ability to take off and run, but overall not great. This is number 4 on my list. Cut Dakota Dozier immediately. Why is he still on this team? It makes no sense. He cannot play against starting quality talent in the NFL. He clearly can't play against backup quality talent in the NFL. Like, give me a break. Dakota, I think there's cuts happening on Tuesday. I think the Vikings have to cut 5 players. Dakota Dozier better be one of them. I don't care anymore. I think it does signify that Dozier started today and not Oli Udo. Oli Udo actually didn't play at all. He was one of the 30 players that rested. I think it's his job to lose now. I think Oli Udo and Rashad Breeland, 2 players that didn't play today, probably solidified their positions on the depth chart as the starting right guard and the number 2 corner, respectively, behind Patrick Peterson, because Cam Dantzler got burned, missed a couple tackles, didn't look good. There's no corner behind Cam Dantzler other than maybe Harrison Hand that I think is worthy of starting consideration. And then Oli Udo doesn't play, and you know, they're resting all of the starters. So to me, that signals that it's his job to lose. And with Dozier, with his, you know, his fuck ups today, I think it pretty much cements that Udo's likely going to get that right guard job. And I really think the last thing I have on my list is that Zim really needs to work these guys hard in practice. It's just the backups, as we've said, you know, third stringers, no big deal. But still, we were hoping to see, you know, some of that magic that we saw in training camp these past few weeks come to an actual preseason game. I'm not really sure what the goal was for today, other than to hope that, you know, Mike Zimmer has been, you know, hounding the linebacker group. Let's use that as an example. In training camp, he has been unimpressed with them. Today, once again, he's unimpressed with them. They didn't show him anything. I don't understand why you continue to just hope and pray that a position group will show you something when clearly they haven't been able to. So this was a stress test for the backups. They failed miserably. I think we'll all feel better once the starters get to play and show off what they're capable of. But I am concerned going forward because we have to face reality. Injuries are a real thing in this league. They're going to happen. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen's been banged up, you know. Even today with Kene Nwangu having to sit out the rest of the game with a knee injury. Injuries are a real thing. Players are going to miss time. There is no way that the starters today that did not play are going to play every single snap of every single game for the entirety of the season. We need backup players to be ready, and they need to have their head in the game. Today, they proved that they're not ready for that. The other issue that we have to be realistic about is the COVID protocol, because this is one of the teams that has a very low vaccination rate, and low vaccination rates lead to you being subjected to the unvaccinated protocol, which could potentially mean you miss games, and that's just I don't care if that's right or wrong or bad or good. That's the reality of the situation. And if a significant portion of the starters fall into that category, we're going to be in some real trouble. So I think Mike Zimmer and Rick Spielman need to get on the horn. They need to find a backup quarterback because clearly Jake Browning is not it. Kellen Mond is nowhere near ready. So we have to have a vaccinated backup quarterback who's capable of, you know, filling in at a moment's notice. And then I think we need to get better at safety because Cameron Bynum's out of position. He's learning a new position, switching over from corner, you know, having played corner at Cal. And we need somebody else back there that can protect behind Smith and Wood. So that's going to do it for this video. Once again, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this game, really anything, and I'll try to feature it tomorrow in the day after video. That video will go up late. I have some prior commitments that I have to tend to before I can make that. So, but definitely look for that tomorrow night. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next one.